Good evening, everyone. Hi Tbilisi, hi Milan, hi the entire world, I guess, because I feel so connected from this pavilion. We are live right now. Anyway, thanks for joining and watching us. Today we are going to have our third presentation in the DICHO TBILISI pavilion. And before I welcome to my guests, I feel like I sometimes I might repeat myself, but I feel like I have to because DICHO is so complex, so diverse, and all involving project. So I would like to bring up some details again. DICHO non-stop streamed dialogue between Milan and Tbilisi is a project initiated by creative agency Abnormal, developed for the 2020 Tbilisi Architecture Biennial. And there are two identical pavilions in Tbilisi and Milan, constantly connected to one another. And I'm Khatia, co-founder and co-creator of multimedia platform In Between Conditions. And we mainly curate and coordinate Tbilisi selection. Sorry. So today my guest is Anna Gzirishvili, and she's going to talk about her ongoing project, right? Life of my ghost, CGI character Bay, and immaterial realms. Actually, I know this work quite well because we already collaborated for the multimedia project Post-Digital Dreams. We showcase this work. And the Bay is so familiar. I'm so familiar with the Bay. I had to listen to the narration of the work and watch Bay pretty much every day back in December when the exhibition was on. So I was feeling like Bay was independent entity and participant of this project. Okay, Anna, so just tell us about your project, about Bay, the CGI character, what are issues you are referring to, and what are these problematic aspects Bay is trying to tell us and speak up. But before, just let me read some quote from the text, from your text, because I believe it's going to be kind of leitmotif for our presentation. While new technologies are promising virtual global micro contacts and wake opportunities, while younger generations have fear for current upcoming economic, environmental, global catastrophes, while the cities with most opportunities attracting young people are reaching the peaks of gentrification and are expelling us from the center, while the social housing and work conditions, even in the Western world, are becoming incompatible with the increased feelings of depression, anxiety, non-belonging, loneliness, being constantly delayed and tired, a legitimate question lays in front of us. Where is a safe place?
Hi everyone. Hi Khatia. Thank you for your invitation to this talks. I'm happy to be here. As you said, we already collaborated on this project, Life of My Ghost, during In Between Conditions that you are co-curating as well. And first of all, maybe we can broaden the conversation and just start talking with talking about how Bay was created, because I think all of this is really interconnected. So I will tell you about a bit about my work process, because this is a big part of this concept as well. I am a multimedia artist and I work in between Tbilisi and Berlin. And at some point, for me, working as an artist was, I felt a little bit, I felt a little bit that I was working in between. That was the topic of your project last year as well, because it seemed to me that there was a really big pressure to be present online, because I was not really based in any particular city fully, and then I think all young people have this problem nowadays, especially artists. that they have to really be very, very mobile. They have to travel around and take all opportunities that they're offered. So this is why I think they really have to work online as well, or show their work online, and they have this pressure to be connected, to get connections through digital platforms, social platforms, etc. And then this is really a privilege in a way, but it's also a disaster for a work process, I would say. And to connect it to Bay, Bay's creation was inspired by NASA-funded experiment in 1960s, where they were trying to teach dolphins to speak, because they were thinking that as dolphins do not have hands, they have this more spiritual, non-materialistic perception of the world. So scientists were curious to hear this worldview from this kind of a creature, and I wanted to create this kind of like a alternative Homo sapiens who doesn't have hands. And the idea was that Bay cut off her hands deliberately, and then I made drawings of these creatures who have no hands, and Bay was one of them. And Bay's also a child of melancholia and vulnerability as well. It's also kind of twisted into gender issues. And so Bay became digital, and she is one of my alter egos, as to say. She's this vulnerable digital creature who is roaming in digital and real spaces. And working with her was really interesting because she made me create all this immaterial worlds. And Immaterials is a name of my platform, which is a platform for virtual design. And I started creating digital shoes and digital outfits, basically for Bay, but then it turned also into a separate project as well. And yeah, this platform, through this platform, I started mixing real and digital worlds together. That is really interesting for me because it seems that our digital world is affecting our real world so much, and the world is kind of stuck in between, and there is this as if this awaiting of something to happen and something to unfold that we don't really know yet, because I think how it is nowadays, it doesn't make people feel comfortable and safe, especially young generations, like all these social platforms, etc. I really think something should change, because this is not really so satisfying or convenient for people. And connected to this, this quote that you read from the text, firstly, I would like to say that I was working with Bay on various projects, and then I did a video, Life of My Ghosts, for In Between Conditions. You had this project last year, and it was exactly about this feeling, being in between digital and real world. And there I am having a dialogue with Bay, because I am also animated on a CGI cloud floating over the city, over Tbilisi. There is also this digital area where Bay is walking around, and Bay is also walking around in a real space. So it's all this like mixing digital, real, and spaces, and digital, real bodies and objects. And I was referencing to Mark Fisher's works and writing. He has this book, Ghosts of My Life. And that's where the name came from for this video, Life of My Ghost. he is writing a lot about young generations problems nowadays and their inclination towards depression, anxiety, and then he has coined this term whateverness, and he's saying that nowadays young people are in this state that is called whateverness, that he calls this state basically when you kind of know that something is wrong and needs to be changed, but you really have no idea how to change. It's change all this social constructs that is around you, all this like work situation, life situation that is around you. So you just then kind of turn to hedonism, and you're just like whatever towards all the situation. And yeah, it's also, his work is really interesting, his writing is really interesting, because I think it speaks to young generation and to how I feel and how my friends feel as well. And this is this shared feeling. Also, this thing that you feel, this digital world makes you feel constantly delayed, and it gives you so much anxiety because you feel that you're not making things on time, and there is no space for you, no headspace for you to just think and reflect and also experiment on your work, because this social media, as good as it is, it also has this bad side that artists feel that they need to make this work that is immediately likable, and they don't really want to spend time on exploring, experimenting on their ideas that are not going to be liked, or that are in process, or that are taking longer time for finishing, or for just like experimenting. This is why everything is instant, and it fits to some people's work process, but it doesn't fit everyone. And it also brings this content that is more homogenic, like everything starts to look like the same, and there is less alternatives.
So that's why you kind of brought up this. Oh, sorry, it's a bit tricky. Like as you pointed out, so you created Bay as your alter ego to build up a bridge between virtual and physical realities, right? So you just wanted to create this in-between environment and in-between dimension, just to visualize this complete chaos, what we are dealing with in terms of information, in terms of acceleration, in terms of this confusion, this constant confusion with information or self-presence or whatever. Do you see it as a kind of bridge between physical and virtual? Because you said it, you pointed out that you wanted to create digital and virtual. So no, digital and physical. So physical is you as you travel, as you live, or as whatever you do for your everyday life. And then there comes Bay, who lives only in virtual space on cloud. So it's like a dialogue between you, right? So you kind of visualize through Bay these digital narratives and this problem of digitality in our life that really takes everything like from our everyday life.
Yeah. Yes, Bay has that side as well. For example, that is also a problem, that there is so much pressure that you need to be in so many places at the same time, and you have just no time for it. So Bay went to a show in Berlin, to her own show recently, instead of me. So
what kind of show it was?
It was at Akut Gallery.
How
And
how
there was this video screenings of Life of My Ghost as well as other
mm-hmm.
works. So she just went there instead of me, and sometimes she appears in places and represents me.
Mm.
Uh, so she kind of like uh, changes. Yeah, she just takes on this role sometimes. But also, what is interesting for me while working with Bay is really her vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
That somehow there is this pressure that we have to appear just so strong and put
Yeah.
together, especially as like women, independent women, or like especially as women artists, how they represent themselves in the, how we have to represent ourselves in the art market or art circles. And then I just wanted to, that there is a pressure that we need to become a little bit masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bay is doing completely opposite. She's very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
She has no hands, and she has this like sad eyes. And she, but through this, she wants to be accepted, and through this, she still wants to gain and find her power in vulnerability, in a way that is not violent, like to find power in a way that is not so like materialistic or violent or patriarchal.
Mm-hmm.
She seems very shy and scared, but then you see she's still walking around wherever she wants to, and I want people to accept that and accept her
Mm-hmm.
her vulnerability and take it as something. But when I say vulnerability, it's like on one hand you can think she's vulnerable, but that's on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
She can also be very strong. There is also this tale, Girl Without Hands. I read it after I created Bay, and there is this girl who was cursed, I think, and she has
Mhm.
no hands, and she goes in the world, and then she cannot do anything, and then the tree is helping her, I think a river is helping her, some animals are helping her to get
Mhm.
around, and I think that is so, she still gets what she wants to get, so I think
Mhm.
that's really beautiful to me.
So like not having hands, um, as Bay has no hands. So this is very strong, a part of her characteristics, right? So it was kind of symbol for you. You did it intentionally. You did not want Bay to have hands, right? So this way you wanted to create this symbol and metaphor. That's vulnerability. It's not what we see on the surface, right? So this it was your approach toward this. It's like a not having hands, or it was just visual method or whatever. So it's connected to vulnerability, right? Not having hands, and then you connect to this tale as well. And what are places where Bay is going to go? Like, do you have already some places for Bay, or some shows or events where Bay is going to go? For your like next like continuation of your project, what is going to be like?
Yeah, so recently she visited this, I think there are images going.
Yeah, you can see
And,
Bay behind us.
She recently went to Naftluki.
Okay.
Naftluki, that's an open market in Tbilisi. They sell food, etc. So she's walking around there. And I want her to visit some shows, actually, right now. And because it's COVID, so I cannot go. So maybe, yeah, I just want her to go around a little bit. And I really had this, before I made Life of My Ghost, I really had this desire to get like, get crossed with her, to meet her somewhere. And this is why it was kind of like a dialogue. So we met in the clouds, as to say, in digital clouds. And there is this, we are having a dialogue. And for now, I'm satisfied with it. I think, yeah,
Okay.
that was.
And like I'm curious how do you do it like technically? For example, you can't go to the show, to the certain show, because it is in Berlin or there is COVID and you just prefer to stay home. Then you send Bay to some certain places like a digit. I mean, technically, how do you do this? Like you just get some footages and then you edit or you create CGI, or what are your approaches like technically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I work in this program, Cinema 4D, and then it has this plugin that's called compositing, where you can mix footage with digital. So that's how I work. And then it's interesting because this project, Bay in the Market, where Bay goes to this market, Navtlugi, it's a real festival of bodies and flesh and colors and objects. And as you see, where when Bay is there, you can see some fruits or vegetables or people who are selling it. And there are this organic, like real material fruits and vegetables and people. And then you see Bay and digital flower and digital mushrooms, digital objects, base, digital body, and then there is also digital water and physical asphalts, and all this is in a way. There is also this sense of death and being alive, and the border between, and that is interesting to me. At the end, everything is digital, so everything is non-hierarchically. It's not hierarchic. When you see an image, everything is just digital. Everything is virtual anyways, even though these people or fruits were real and Bay wasn't real. Everything is unreal at the end. At the end, we just see that. And yeah, it's also in this series, Bay's wearing a microphone to her heart, and that's also symbolic in a way. For me, it's like I want her to be present and more outspoken. I want her to talk, and that's why there's a microphone that's connected to her heart. And yeah, there are little symbols like this in this project.
So you still go. I mean, I'm asking those questions because I think it's very interesting and fascinating how you try to mix digital and physical elements and aspects, and then create digital product in the end. But it's so physical to some degree. So physically, okay, let's talk about this Navtlugi case. You go to the bazar, this open market, and then you observe and you gather some interesting materials and footages, and then you process with these materials, and then you create completely digital like version of it, right? Of your observations and thoughts and so on. But still, it starts with physicality, right? You go there. Yeah, it's this is this in-betweenness and transition between different statements and conditions we have just to think about is very important, I believe, and I think, because we no longer live only in one dimension, like a physical dimension, right? We are constantly in between. So as long as we have our phone with us, we are already somewhere else because we are connected to the people virtually and online. So even right now, when I have my phone with me, there are like some notifications, like coming and receiving. So like even right now, we are connected to another dimension, and digital environment, because it's so inevitable and it's so invaded in our everyday life. So just to analyze and think and rethink and resonate what kind of conditions we have is very important, I guess, because technology completely transforms the way we also communicate with each other, and we perceive and we express and feel whatever. And another important point, what you already mentioned, is this high standards of today's world. Like today's world has set so high standards for us, for young generations especially, because they have to be very efficient in order to be success, let's say, whatever it might mean. We have to, and we have to wake up every day and check social networks and update ourselves, and then just have this evidence that we are present. I'm here and I'm gonna post my picture or whatever project I work on or whatever I do. I have to let other people know about this, and I have to just claim that I'm present. You know, this self-presence and claiming and stating that you are present has become kind of this crucial part and standard and rule kind of for us. And that's what Bayes has been speaking up, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
also this safe place.
Yeah, this safe place is really interesting, because this is what referencing to in between, like the state of being in between and in whateverness. I think everyone is looking for a safe place, something, some place that they feel comfortable in, and this is what Bay is looking for as well, and I am looking for that as well. I'm just looking like, where is the safe place, and also how to live. How can I live in a way that is just convenient or safe for me. And in this way, there is this thing that for young people, there is this idea that if they are active on social media, then they get some jobs. That like jobs are connected to social media, and that's so terrible, I think, because sometimes it's working out, but sometimes it's a complete delusion. You don't get anything. You don't get any jobs from with sharing your work. It's just, I mean, it's a nice way to share your work, like in a democratic way, and everyone can see it. But also in a way, so many companies and brands are just like scavenging for inspiration and exciting material, and then they take something from you, and they don't even want to credit you, or they offer you something and they don't even want to pay. And all this is why also there is this phrase in the text, vague opportunities, and everything is just so vague. Nothing is, there is no specific future for us. Yeah, future is also a big part of Life of My Ghost. That's as if that's what Mark Fisher is writing about as well, that as if there is no future, as if we lost our future in a way, because no one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. And it's this state that is really unsettling. And also it's interesting how we feel now that if we're not present on social media, we think that we are dead. And there is this feeling. It's so interesting how this death plays around in digital realms. Also, I was talking to my friends, and then we are just saying that if someone is not online, as if they don't exist, which is so bad. That is, if people, because life and death is comes from another people's view, because if we die, we don't really understand, we don't really perceive that we are dead or alive, and then only through other people's gaze we can feel that we are alive, and we just want this feeling so much, to feel alive. That's why we want so many people to look at us. And then it's interesting to step to make, to just make a social death, like a death online, and but it's so hard to do nowadays. It's a big privilege to have not to be online. Is a really big privilege. I would love to do that. I would love to
Yeah,
just enjoy
exactly.
real life, but and some people do it, but they're really privileged.
Yeah.
And also with the death, I just wanted to say, connected on how digital world is affecting real world. I was just watching some footage on Instagram about Nagorno-Karabakh, this conflict that's happening now in Nagorno-Karabakh, and I was just, it was so strange to me because some people were using specifacts like CGI and modification. They were making all these war images look really attractive from both sides. And then I was thinking of Marvel films, you know, in Marvel films, in this comics, how everything is just so fascinating, all these visuals that you're looking at, and then you have a side to pick, there is a villain, and then, you know, there is all this killings there and destructions, but it's also visually appealing. And then I see similar images about this real war, and this is so crazy. And then some people are, some media is also showing how they're bombing people. You know, there's this footage from the drones, and then you see people dying, like real people really dying on your phone. And then how normal is it? It's crazy because it's not this leaked footage. They're showing you that they're doing it and how good they are at killing. And they're as if bragging. And before, I think it wasn't like this. People were hiding, or at least governments were hiding that they killed someone. And now it's just crazy to me how it all gets so twisted.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing what you mentioned is very important for me as well. You said that not being on social media, for example, and not just being online is a privilege for some people. And this is so on topic, I guess, and I absolutely agree with you. It's a privilege, and I'm just thinking right now to myself that I never like approach to this topic like this way, that it's a privilege because you don't have a choice. Like, you do not have a choice. It's not exaggerated at all. If you want to be present, if you want to be successful, if you want to let people know about you, about whatever you do, you have to be online. For example, you are working on the project and you want to spread the word around, then you have this tools, social networks, right? And you have to, especially in the countries, like developing countries such as Georgia, we are so taken by it that you don't have choice, and you have to really go for it. And not being online, it's a privilege. Yeah, it's something very a key aspect, I guess, because it again goes to back to the point where is a safe place, because it gives you so much anxiety and feeling of loneliness, and just sometimes you just feel that, okay, some people are doing so great around me, and then you are alone and you have nothing to share, or I mean, banally speaking, because you all the time see these updates from the people. And then it creates a certain rules, and it creates a certain model for working, for communicating, for connecting, for socializing, and you, whether you want or not, you have to follow it, right? Yeah, I mean, the question what I wanted to ask refers to these digital territories. So we are again bailiffs. We have to live on cloud and in the digital territories, and it takes at least 50% of our life, of our everyday life. We can really calculate how much time we spend online. And then you created this digital world for Bay. That also, I mean, she lives and does everything. Do you see it as a kind of model or version of place, not safe place? I would not say it, but do you kind of call it digital territories, and the way that we need to rethink these territories in order to kind of understand what are conditions we constantly live in, and we constantly have to adjust to it, and it becomes so relevant and so on time nowadays, because we have to live in the times of COVID, right? When this medium and digitality and these ways to connect with people is only one choice, because it's a new model and we have to somehow get adjusted to it, right? So how do you kind of make connection between those like key aspects and just questions or thoughts about territories, digital territories and conditions?
Unfortunately, the digitality doesn't really replace this pleasure of real life or real communication with friends. Like, even if you see your friends, it's so different when you're just in a real place together. Unfortunately, it doesn't replace it for now, and this is a problem for me, that it's that I feel that as if I am tricked or something. All these promises of these digital territories are not yet so appealing to me. But it also has a very good side to it, of course, that in digital world you can. Well, first of all, why I started working in digital was that I had just so many ideas, and I wanted to work in space. I wanted to work with material, and I didn't have money to buy real material. And then I was like, oh, I can just use, I can work digitally, and there I can do whatever I want. And this is how it is as well. You can just it's a place for your fantasy. You can just pour your fantasy, and you can then just see how it looks, and you can just get gratified. And then you can get this gratification when you just press render, and then you have your image. It's a wonderful feeling, and as if your dreams or your fantasies are coming true. And I think this territory is really beautiful for that. And because not everyone can build set designs or do work with real materials. And there is also a good thing about these digital territories, that they can reflect on your reality in a different way, so that you can get inspired in a different way from this digital narratives that you see, and digital visuals and concepts. For example, what is for me, what's good with Bay is that it's like working with gender, with this anthropomorphic character. I call her Chimera, and she doesn't have a gender, and then representing her as a naked body and wearing all these things that she's wearing is really liberating for me. And to see her in this way, it gives me somehow power, that I can also be like that. Also, I change her color sometimes, like skin or eye color, etc. That is also very that is also kind of really inspirational to me. But the question that you asked is that I don't know yet. This is why I'm working in that field right now, because there is something that is unsettling me, and I don't know yet how it should be, so that it's completely harmonical. You have this harmony around you, in your real life and in your digital life and representation. So this is why I'm just like exploring, and this is why I'm mixing real and digital all the time. It's still a question, where is a safe place? For me, it's also a question, should I become more digital, or should I just cancel that and just live a real life as much as I can? I don't know that. This is why I'm kind of in between. And sometimes you think that, oh, as if you just I would like to have my head and brains only, and I wouldn't want to have this body. Sometimes I think like this, that it's such a burden to have this body. I don't want it. Sometimes I think like this. When I'm too much in digital, when I'm also reading a lot and I'm researching a lot, I'm like, I don't want this body. I just want my brain to function. And sometimes I feel that my realness of my body brings me such emotions that it's I wouldn't give it up for anything else. So I don't really know.
So you were basically you've been researching and observing and trying to create your digital territories, which can be safe for you, for your persona and for your personality, and which can be alternative and far away from the territories, digital territories. Again, we are so forced to be in, and we are forced. Yeah, that's not again exaggerated. Every day we have to be there, and we are forced. And this is also very interesting point for me, and very important case to exemplify how we can create our own digital territories, because we have to accept the fact that we can't really exclude this digitality from our life. It's a privilege, and if you want to be part of society, then we have to really kind of adjust to some certain rules and standards and so on. We have to really escape, and we can't really exclude. It's it's my opinion personally. I think that and believe that there is no way to completely cut off this territories from your life, because you have to work and you have to be connected to people, and it's so dominated right now, and there is no way to go beyond it. You have to just find your alternative ways to create your alternative digital territories again. So it's just a beautiful story of Bey, how you created your alter ego digitally, because you've been trying to discover more about digitality and embodiment, because you say and you mentioned that it's your alter ego, and sometimes they travel through some spaces and places instead of you. So you embody, right? And you refer to embodiment, and this is also very interesting. So yeah, I think we can kind of sum up our meeting and our conversation, which was very interesting again to me. Thank you very much just for being part of DICHO TBILISI program. Good luck with your projects and with Bey, and I hope Bey is going to have very fun adventures in the future. And yeah, tomorrow we are going to have another presentation here in the DICHO TBILISI Pavilion. Thanks for watching us. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, Khadia.